I'm with former Deputy Gary Matthews from St Brad and the current Deputy Monty Tadier for St Brad's, and we're going to compare things as they were. What year were you Deputy there, Gary?
I was Deputy St Bernard for 1993 to 96.
Now, you now live in England, but you keep an eye on what's going on here.
Yes, look at websites and blogs and try and keep in touch with my friends to find out what's going on politically, certainly. Yeah.
Do you find the blogs useful in that regard?
Yes, I do find them. There's been a bit of a growth in blogs recently, I think. Seems to be more about than before, certainly.
What do you think, Monty? Are you a blog follower? You've got a blog of your own, but it's...
Yeah, no, I am. I mean, I think the blogs have obviously become more and more important as people have tried to search for their information rather than simply being spoon-fed what the JEP or what the BBC or the other established media want to tell them. So I think, yeah, certainly it's the way forward. And of course, there's been a big debate in the States about clamping down on the rights of citizens' media to film States meetings, etc. So and that's to be expected, of course. But
you're following in Gary's footsteps, not immediately, but don't want to be unkind. But does anybody ever mention Gary in St Bernard's?
Some do. I've not heard a lot, but clearly there are some people who've got fond memories of Gary. Some of my supporters, obviously Gary's strong supporters would be also supporters of mine, so we've got similar politics.
It's just this idea of political pedigree, you see, that things tend not to follow on because it's a state's made up of independents. There isn't something, nobody hands down the baton. Who's Norman Le Brock? Even people on the extreme right, oh, very finely Norman Le Brock, but nobody really hands down the baton from Norman Le Brock, do they, because there isn't a party structure. When you were there, Barry, Gary, you were very much on your own in the States then?
To a large extent, but we did have a Green Party. That's what really catapulted us into the States, really. Was there were about 4 of us who were in the Jersey Green Party, who we did work together. So that was like the beginning remnants of like a party structure. But it didn't last long, really, because there was a tendency in Jersey to sort of turn it into very much personality politics. And to fight battles individually, collective action is reasonably rare. So we tried to do that in various ventures, but I think it would be useful if Jersey did have a party system. But I think we're some way away from that.
People keep talking about even the Jersey Rights Association, in theory, had quite a few members in the States. I think about 3 or 4 members in the States. I never ever heard one of them say, I'm speaking on behalf of the Jersey Rights Association.
No.
Why is it? What's this reluctance, do you think? Why is it in people that they won't take on a party mantle?
Well, I think the media and the general consensus, what you might call the hegemony, that the current hegemony in the island is against parties, and I think that's because I think the establishment realises that if parties were successful, they'd get things done. If they could capture votes and they could mobilise people, they would actually get things done. And obviously the Conservative establishment doesn't want things to be done in the island, really. It wants to keep things roughly as they are.
When you were there, Stuart Sivery was in the States. He's now marginalised. He's out of the States. He's going to be standing again now. Do you think he's got anything relevant to say on political issues now?
Well, we'll have to see. I think Stuart is considering standing in the forthcoming senatorial elections. Again, I think the only difficulty there, again, is this personality politics, which bores me, really, and did bore me when I was in the Jersey States as well. I was always trying to do things collectively and raise issues, manifesto issues. What Tony Benn used to talk about, dealing with the issues rather than personalities. But I think the potential problem is that if Balash and Sivery are standing in the senatorial elections, it will become like a personal battle between the two of them because of their personal history.
It's not too late, Monty, to grab the party initiative. I mean, an alliance of like-minded, progressive is the word, that's the nearest word they can use. It's not too late even now to...
No, I mean, I think it's important to recognise, first of all, Gary was pretty much, and his 3 or 4 colleagues in the Green Party, and hopefully a couple of other sympathisers as well. They were at the vanguard really, and they were campaigning on issues at a time when it wasn't popular. And so in that sense, I've been a lot more fortunate. I mean, there's anything between 8 to 15 of us on a good day who all share, basic similar values: the need for transparency, the need for basic reforms in Jersey, and also hopefully social reforms as well that are long overdue.
I noticed that there's a housing report which has just been lodged with the states on social housing, and one of the things that got raised there's actually, even now, there's no obligation on the authorities to house anybody. When you talk about social, in the UK, if you're homeless, there's an obligation on government to house you. Those sort of very basic things don't exist in Jersey. I mean, even at the level Bob Hill brought a thing the other day about potholes in the road. If you break your leg because somebody's left a hole in the road, nobody's liable. These sort of very, very basic things. When you were there, Gary, didn't you find you were up against those sort of fundamental basic rights?
Well, certainly I was up against those things. I remember bringing reports and motions and amendments on a variety of issues, ranging from equal rights for gays to the social charter, anti-racism. All these issues were raised in the 90s, but there wasn't really a great deal of interest in the Assembly at the time. But one thing that struck me is when I moved to England, because I lost my seat and had to leave the island effectively for different reasons. What struck me is when I went to England, and I've been active in the East Midlands where I now live, as you say, these things are self-evident and accepted, that local councils do have an urgent necessity to house people. Homeless people are treated with decency and haste. Disabled people get all sorts of rights and benefits and access, and of course there's lots of discrimination law which exists. You can't go around abusing people because of their colour of their skin or their sexuality in England, and these are all things which have been accepted and given possibly now for 30 odd years. And many of these things do still not exist in Jersey.
And we were discussing actually earlier is that it seems that Jersey increasingly wants to have it both ways, so to speak. They want to try and punch above their weight economically on the international platform, almost to a point of independence, and we know that's another thing that's going to be coming up in the next elections. But when it comes to actually providing the services of an independent or autonomous state which is punching above its weight when it's to do with discrimination, disabled access, a whole raft of things, these are either not happening at all or they're very late coming in. And I think Jersey government really needs, is starting to ask and answer some of those questions, but it's too little too late at the moment.
Things like equality for women, I mean, it's so basic in any society that it's almost inconceivable, isn't it, that a place like Jersey shouldn't have these things in place. I mean, you must, going away, go to England, I mean, obviously not everything's perfect in England, but these things are so fundamental and basic in England. They're so established there, aren't they?
But the priority, I mean, there are two Jerseys, and I'm not talking about the rich and poor simply. If you ask the establishment, if you ask the money men in the States, the millionaires, and when they talk about Jersey, what they mean, that Jersey for them is the finance industry and everything that goes with it, the lawyers, the accountants, etc., the property, the expensive accommodation. These are all that's Jersey for them, but there's also a society of actual human beings who live here, which is quite an inconvenience sometimes, because they want stuff. They want to go to hospital, they want doctors, they want education, and that's something that we as politicians could be doing without, really. We're trying to run an international finance centre to make lots of money for wealthy people, and then we have plebs who are basically saying, oh, we want you to do this and that, and it's
what are the people you meet in England, Gary, the most part, what do they think Jersey? You say, oh, I came from Jersey. What do they think? Well,
they think Jersey's a very nice place to live. The general conception is it is populated by millionaires and that you've got to be very wealthy to live here. They don't seem to realise, that there is a working class or an underclass in Jersey. They certainly don't understand that there are social problems in Jersey. They have this picturesque vision of Jersey. Often mention the Bergerac programme, which I think is going to be rerun soon on satellite. and they have this warped vision of Jersey. The only other issue that has really put Jersey on the international stage in recent years was the child abuse scandal. And again, that was covered up by the Jersey establishment, in my opinion, and still lots of questions to be answered there. But I think the interesting point is that my conclusion would be, having spent some time in England now for the last 10 years or so, is that it takes Jersey some 30 years to catch up on basic social and civil legislation.